Hey guys, Patrick here. I'm at the THEbTEAM World Headquarters News Desk. I'm going to attempt to explain how the market's working right now in 3 minutes or less. I probably don't stand a chance of making it, but here goes. So the two variables to the market right now that are so important is the strategy behind how offers are being handled and pricing strategy, how the house is being priced. So first of all, offer handling. In the old days, you put a home up for sale and you take an offer, whatever day you get it, you negotiate, you go back and forth, you come to an agreement, right? So that's the first option you can do. It really didn't happen for several weeks in a row here, but now you're starting to see it once in a while, but in general, it's not the practice. The other end of the spectrum, delayed presentation of offers. We put a house up for sale today at 4. We're going to look at offers on Monday at 3. In that time, people go through, they have a look, they talk to their bank, they might do a pre-inspection, all that kind of stuff, right? Delayed presentation of offers. In the middle is this gray area, the 48-hour irrevocable. Here's one important point for you to know. As a buyer bringing an offer to a seller, when you bring an offer to a seller on a Tuesday at 2 o'clock, irrevocable till Thursday at 2 o'clock, guess what happens? For 2 days, they're out shaking trees, getting more offers, right? There is no obligation for you as a buyer to give a 48-hour irrevocable. That'd be like saying, the seller is saying, I require a July 6th closing. That's great. I'm the buyer. I would like to offer you a June 29th closing. That listing agent still has to bring your offer to the seller. They can't say, you know what, forget it. I'm not bringing it to them. They require a July 6th closing. I'm not showing them their offer. There's an obligation to present the offer at the earliest opportunity. So I, buyer agent, can send seller agent a one-page document that says, I have an offer signed. It's good till tomorrow at 4. Let me know when you're presenting. They cannot not present that to the seller. The seller can say, no, thanks. We want the 48-hour or bust. That's cool. That's the seller's prerogative, right? But that gray area in between is super complex because there's no systemized process to define that, because there's an obligation to present the offer at the earliest opportunity. So it's really dependent on the agent. The communication, the whole process is really dependent on the people involved. The delayed presentation, there's a form that defines that whole process, but the 48-hour thing is a bit loosey-goosey. So it is very much dependent on the agent that you're working with and how that is handled. So that's the 3 ways that offers can be handled. The one analogy I would encourage you to think about is a bus with 40 buyers on it, or 40 people on it. If you take the first option where you're going to say offers anytime, maybe only 2 people get off the bus. They bring the offer. 38 people are still sitting on the bus that haven't got through your house. You accept that offer from the second person. Odds are you've lost opportunity and you've left money on the table. Remember, as a seller, with your seller hat on, you want all 40 people to get through. That's why the delayed presentation works, because it allows all 40 people to come through. And maybe only 3 people make an offer, but at least you as a seller, your mission is to get the most opportunity and most exposure possible, so all 40 people have come through, right? So that's offer handling, the sort of 3 approaches to that. And then there's pricing strategy. You price it the old-fashioned way. Market value seems to be here. Let's price it here and let's negotiate and see where we get to. Then the second way, at the other end of the spectrum, is the gross underprice. You know, you listed at $329, but the seller expects to get $480 or $510. That's the other end of the spectrum, and that happens a lot, especially in the entry level sort of $300 to $450 range. The average sale price is quite often 115, 120% of asking price. The problem with that is you might have 72 showings happen in 30 offers or whatever it is, but out of those 72 showings, 44 of those people were only qualified to hear, right? When in fact, the seller actually wants this. So you wasted time. You had people come through during a pandemic that probably shouldn't have, that weren't able to swim in the waters that in the depth of waters that the seller wanted. So that's a reason to not do these gross underpricing that's happening out there. And it's not just, one segment of the market. We see it every once in a while. You see a house come up and you say, whoa, okay. And then in the middle, same with the 48-hour thing, there's always this gray area in the middle that's a bit harder to define, is pricing it somewhat just under market. So if the seller is looking to get 5.25, you price it at 485, 489, 479, something like that. So sure, they're still looking to get a bit more than asking price, but the people that are coming through are generally in the right place as far as the dollars go, where they're qualified to be at that depth, right? But there's so many curveballs with this. It's really hard to explain. Like, let's say, for example, you want to responsibly price your house. You want 5.25. You list it at 524.9. So what do buyers do? Think about what you do when you see a home come up on Realtor.ca. A lot of times people are automatically adding on 10% to an asking price and saying, well, wait, 5.25 times 10%. I can't afford 630 grand. Forget it. Skip to the next one. There you have a seller who was trying to do the right thing and not do the gross underprice, price it at market, but buyers keep moving on because they are assuming they're doing this addition in their head before they even step foot in the place to have a look at it, because they're automatically assuming that the price it's going to get, all these other offers. So it is a really nuanced, tricky approach as far as what to do. And then where we see things really fall apart is where somebody is doing the responsible price. I shouldn't say, doesn't mean that the others are all irresponsible, but they're pricing it at market, but they're also delaying offers, right? So you're saying, okay, we want 5.25. We're going to list it at 524.9, but we're not going to look at offers for 6 days. So hey, all you buyers, just so you know, the lineup starts here. But if you want that price and you're creating that scenario, you can lose people, right? Because again, if you're already at where the market comps seem to point, there's nothing showing that it's going to get 590 or 6.25. You'll have people that will see that and think, well, that, what does that seller want? Holy cow, let's keep moving. And you lose opportunity. And so having the wrong offer handling strategy, sort of colliding with the wrong pricing strategy can backfire. And that's where you see a house that'll come up for sale. It doesn't get offers, literally will reduce the price and then sell for more than what they were asking. Damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Or a house where they had delayed presentation of offers, they didn't get any offers, and then it converts to that 48-hour thing where they're saying, okay, now if you come to us, we'd love to see you, but we still want 2 days. Well, then how's that work, right? So at that point, as a buyer, no chance I'm giving you 2 days. I'm going to bring you an offer, but I'm going to give you, I'll give you time, but I'm not going to give you 2 days to shake trees again, and maybe or maybe not get offers and use mine against other offers, that sort of thing. So there's so many different points to go or directions to go with this, as far as how to handle offers, and then how to price the property and how to time everything out. Anytime you have a market that was as intense as it was, once it starts to change, until that new sort of dynamic settles in, there's all kinds of friction. There's going to be stress, there's anxiety, there's going to be situations that work, some that don't. And it really, really, really comes down to a sound, well thought out, articulated strategy that you, the seller, are aware of, where you're not going to get surprised and say, well, wait a second, you told me we were going to sell for X. What are we doing now, right? Everything should be on the table so you know exactly what the deal is. So in a nutshell, that's where we're at with the market. Right now, things are changing a little bit, but we're still in a situation where we are historically tight between the number of listings and the number of sales. Check this out. This shows you, going back to 2011, for the 4 months beginning of the year, January, February, March, April, the number of new listings versus the number of sales. And you'll see back in 2011, 12, 13, it was around 1.8 to 2.2 listings per sale. So let's say you had 220 listings, 100 sold. There's still 120 there to choose from. Hooray! Right? As a buyer, you've got time. You can shop, you can look, you can compare. As that tightened up in 2016, 17, we got down to 1.2, 1.3 listings. So let's say I have 130 listings, 100 of them sold. Okay, well, there's still 30, but that's not a lot. It opened back up in 18 and 19, and then here we are in 2021. We're back to about 1.2. That is super, super tight. That's a market that creates scarcity. It creates anxiety. It creates multiple offers, competitiveness, escalating pricing, and sort of the variables that we're seeing right now. So as things change, it'll be interesting to watch that ratio, but we've been sitting there for a while, 1.1, 1.2. So there's not a lot of margin in there for buyers, or supply in there for buyers to select from. Again, that's just a sort of a sidebar, but that's what fundamentally is feeding this scenario. I think that's everything. There's other stuff, but let's call it. Okay, thanks so much for joining me. If you have any questions, our website link is there. We've got a great blog page. We have market data on there. There's all kinds of goodies in there if you ever want to go in and have a look. If you have questions on a particular scenario you saw a house, you said, holy crap, how did that happen? Or a property, or an area of the city, reach out anytime. Happy to chat. You know where to reach us. Otherwise, we hope you're doing well. Let's bring on the end of this lockdown, and let's get back to having fun this summer. Really, really looking forward to that. Okay, thanks, guys. I really appreciate your time. Cheers. Bye.